Hi everyone, Ed Robertson. Thank you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. We'll be back with a brand new edition of TV Confidential later in the week. In the meantime, please enjoy this clip from a conversation you may have heard before, but probably haven't heard in a long time. Please enjoy.
We did a thing at the Palladium, and the Queen Mother, it was her 80th birthday, and she came up, or I came backstage to meet her, and she says, I don't suppose you can tell me who shot J.R. I said, no, ma'am, not even for you. And we had 3 episodes before he was shot, so we had that whole thing building. How are they going to show this one? And finally, when we did show it, I mean, it was like the shot heard around the world. People, I mean, airline people, the pilot would say, we know who shot J.R. And people were going to restaurants and leaving before the show because they wanted to see that specific one. It was heady days, very heady days.
Hi there, everybody. This is Patrick Duffy, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
All right, so this is an oldie but a goodie. Well, it's actually from our age demographic. It's just something that we remember fondly. It's March 21st, 1980. That is when millions of people saw the character J.R. Ewing get shot on the nighttime soap Dallas. Very important historically in television.
Well, for a number of reasons. One, before the age of cable shows like The Sopranos and these days Mad Men, because Mad Men this month is returning to AMC after, I believe, a 15-month gap between seasons. Up until the cable age, typically you would have at most maybe a 3-month gap between the end of the first run show and the beginning of the new season. But because of several things that happened in the spring and summer of 1980, there was like a 9-month gap between the final episode.
That was unheard of. But
it lasted forever.
Yeah.
We had, I think, a cliffhanger, which was probably the greatest cliffhanger in the history of primetime television. Also, we have to just factor in that there were 3 networks. Most people didn't have cable yet. Or if they had cable, it was basically to improve their signals than they could get.
Well, not only that, CNN hadn't started yet.
CNN hadn't
started for another 3 months.
MTV did not exist yet. But also, people did not even have VCRs. Most of them. I mean, we had VCRs in school.
Right.
But it wasn't part of every household
No,
yet.
it was not in every household. It was this very expensive contraption.
People like J.R. had
J.R. would have had a
VCRs.
VCR.
Yeah.
But the average Joe, the 99%ers, would not have had a VCR. The 1% would. If you were a 99%er with a VCR, you were either a uber geek or you had some reason to own one of these contraptions other than for your own personal entertainment.
And as you just said, J.R. would have had a VCR, which is one of the reasons why he was the most hated man in America.
Yeah.
That plus what he did to people like Cliff Barnes and Sue Ellen and everybody else in the cartel. But you talk about a perfect storm of events happening between when the cliffhanger episode aired in March and the resolution aired in November. You had a writers guild. Was it a writers
Screen Actors Guild?
Okay. You had the actors strike. Mm-hmm. Then once that was resolved, as it happened, the season, I don't remember whether Hagman's contract ran out or he just or he decided to stage a walkout. But Hagman decided to take advantage of the hoopla and the long gap, and he basically disappeared while his agents renegotiated his contract with CBS, and he emerged from that with, at the time, the highest paid contract in dramatic television. But so you had Hagman's walkout. And then, as we were talking about before, it was that summer when CNN and 24/7 cable news emerged. And so, because you had to fill content on CNN, you would cover.
There was a lot of human interest stuff that was used as filler, and still today, now that we have several cable news channels, there is a lot of filler going on. You also have to look at this from the pop culture standpoint. I remember that summer, my family and we were vacationing in Disney World in Orlando, Florida, when there was just one park. Mm-hmm. Epcot Center wasn't even around yet. And every other T-shirt I remember that summer was I shot J.R. I know who shot J.R. It was an election year. The Republicans shot J.R. The Democrats shot J.R. Jimmy Carter shot J.R. I mean, there were every variation, and if anybody's initials happened to be J.R., they had their own monogram. I mean, it was a phenomenon. I think this probably outsold... they were probably all illegal, but at that time, I mean, it was just amazing. I think prior to that, the biggest bootleg of T-shirts was probably Mr. Bill.
When did the entertainment television programs come in? That was a little bit later on.
I think Entertainment Tonight was about a year later.
About a year later, I believe.
So the story was being covered by traditional news outlets
because they were getting feeds from the cable from CNN. Because if it was on CNN, it was there for constituted news, and nobody wanted to be scooped, and so you would have updates at the tail end of the 11 o'clock news, not just on CBS affiliates, but on ABC and NBC affiliates, because you didn't want to get beat by the competition. So everyone was covering this story. The tabs were covering the story. Everyone was covering the story. And it also got play, as I recall, because I believe it was that summer, the summer of 1980, the Americans pulled out of the Olympics.
Yeah, so around the time that this was transpiring, there was talk because of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Amazing how how we're still talking about some of these places today. But yeah, that was around that time. The Miracle on Ice was about a month before, if my dates are correct, and it was already at that time Jimmy Carter was talking about that. If the Soviets don't pull out, we're not going to the Olympics.
Right. So you had this story, this entertainment story about a television show was providing relief from
that little sports deficit times that we were going.
Exactly.
And I think Dallas already had a very nice audience. I mean, this was a nighttime soap, which was a genre reinvented for nighttime. Already had a wide audience.
And amazing because it was a Friday night show. It was back in the day when nobody watched television on Friday, but they were watching television. They were watching Dallas.
But was it out of a lack of boredom that Dallas suddenly gained many, many more viewers? Everybody hopped on the Who Shot J.R. bandwagon.
Now, at this time, was it a 9 o'clock show or was it a 10 o'clock?
It was a 10 o'clock show.
It was a 10 o'clock show because CBS had The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno, The Dukes of Hazzard, and then Dallas. And then later on, when The Incredible Hulk was canceled, they moved everything up an hour. And put Falcon Crest,
Falcon Crest, 10 o'clock, right.
So,
and it was really good because Dallas was really the anchor show. So Dallas really was the 9 o'clock show. I mean, 9 o'clock show being the anchor show.
Yeah.
So before I forget, you mentioned everyone wearing T-shirts. I shot J.R. She shot J.R. Yeah. We had Michael Priest on the program a couple of weeks ago. Michael Priest directed more episodes of Dallas than any other director, and he had a hand on virtually every major storyline. And one of the first things he did when he joined the show, he shot footage of all the cast members
shooting
J.R. Oh. And they leaked that to the networks to keep the mystery as much of a mystery as possible. This portion of TV Confidential is brought to you by Salt River Therapy, a compassionate, confidential boutique therapy practice that offers quality therapies for individuals and couples, both in person in Brooklyn, New York, and virtually throughout New York State and New Jersey. Their specialties include anxiety, grief, low self-esteem, identity issues, and relationship challenges, while the mission of Salt River Therapy is to help you find your inner capacity for vulnerability, healing, and growth so that you can really understand yourself and your experiences, prioritize caring for yourself, and finally tackle the things that have been bothering you. The people at Salt River Therapy value being therapists who actually get you. They love connecting with clients who may be worried about being misunderstood or judged, or who might be afraid of change, or who aren't quite sure what's not working in their lives but are hoping to find clarity, build resilience, and figure out their way forward. Salt River Therapy accepts most New York Aetna plans and have sliding scale rates available. To learn more about what they do or to schedule a free phone consultation, visit saltrivertherapy.com, saltrivertherapy.com.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 886-7411, or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.